Welcome to Straight Up Dog Talk, the podcast where pet parents, pet guardians, and pet professionals come together to dive into real issues in dog parenting. From controversial training methods to sensitive health topics, we're getting raw and real about what it means to care for our canine companions. Join us every Wednesday for unfiltered conversations, expert insights, and personal stories that will make you laugh, cry, and grow as a pet parent. No topic is off limits and no question goes unanswered. You won't get one perspective here. You'll get them all because every dog is different and every human is too. You can follow along on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Straight Up Dog Talk or by visiting www.straightupdogtalk.com. Tune in from any of your favorite podcast platforms. Welcome to Straight Up Dog Talk. I'm Emma, and we are back again this week with another amazing guest. This week, we have Crystal from Dogs Forever Rescue, which is a rescue here in Cedar Rapids. I wanted to bring her in today so that we could talk about the rescue and what it's like to work in a rescue and also just learn a little bit about Dogs Forever. So how are you today, Crystal?
I'm good. Just hanging out with my own dogs, enjoying a snow day.
Hey, that's never a bad thing. It's so funny because I record these episodes so far in advance, so it's always fun to listen back and be like, oh yeah, we had that crazy snow day with 8 inches. Oh my goodness.
Bizarre.
Do your dogs like the snow or do they not like the snow?
It depends. They don't like this much snow. If it's like 4 inches, they're out there scooping it up like seagulls, galloping around. But for some reason, when it gets up to their little ankles, they're like, I don't like this. I don't have any control. They just in and out, in and out.
Toby does not like the snow or the rain or anything that involves him getting wet at all. Fitz doesn't like it when it's snowing, but once the snow is on the ground, then he is all for
Fair
it.
game.
Yeah, he's in it. I think that's the American Eskimo in him, though, because that's a snow dog. So he's like,
yeah.
But it is very cold out there right now, so
that's the problem too. Is it's cold and the wind is kicking in, and Dobermans, they don't really have an undercoat. They have no skin on their belly, and they're just cold. And even if I put their jackets on, then they just stand there like, what are we doing? Just go potty with your jacket. It takes longer to put their jacket on than it does for them to just go outside and go potty.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. That's how I feel about the footwear. It takes me longer to put the footwear on than it does for me to just leave it off. By the time Fitz gets down the stairs, then the boots are half are on the porch and half are in the yard, and then it's just a total disaster, which right now is not doable because I have my broken foot and I can't go down the stairs.
Yeah. You're like, too bad that we'll catch that in the spring when it melts in the snow.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. All right. Let's talk a little bit about Dogs Forever to get started. Why don't you tell everybody about Dogs Forever? Tell them where it's located.
Yeah. So we're right here in Cedar Rapids. We're on Rockford Road, so right behind the Cedar Rapids Colonel Stadium scoreboard. There's a lot of rescues right there on that side of town. So often people think we're other rescues, but we are a very small, no-kill nonprofit, and we have 2 blue buildings. The left building is our main building, and the right building is our meeting building where we have our fundraising and committee meetings. We also have a sanctuary dog that lives with us full-time because he's got some issues in his tissues, and he's not adoptable to the public. But he's got a maid chaise lounge, coach, snacks, servants. He's living the good life there. We have 6 kennels and about 10 dogs in foster at any given time. So we're quite small when you think about other rescues because most others are foster-based. And we actually have a shelter. So we have dogs that get walks 3 times a day. We have dogs that need cared for multiple times a day, every day of the year. No matter what, rain, snow, snowstorm, nobody got a day off yesterday. The dogs still need cared for and they need out and they need food. So we run every single day.
How did the dogs do yesterday with the snow? Was this some of their first experiences with snow?
We have 6 puppies there right now, but they're just like, what is this? They don't really care. And the rest of them, when it's really cold like this, we have 3 sections out in the front where there's a play yard and then 2 runs. And then our entire back area, we had some grants about a year ago, maybe 2. Anyway, we redid the whole backyard and raised it, brought in dirt, and we made an entire PET area back there. So we've got lots of room for them to run quickly and safely if it's too cold outside for walks. And they all get jackets. Every dog's got a little jacket hanging on their kennel. Even the little puppies, there's nothing cuter than a puppy in a little jacket. It's so cute. But yeah, everything was fine. So this shelter manager's husband is also our maintenance guy and kind of our one and done project guy. He helps with anything needed around there. Basically, he wears many hats. And we were able to afford to get him an actual real hefty snowblower. So he's been having a blast cleaning out all of the play yards instead of just a shovel. We have a sidewalk we have to maintain. We have parking lots for guests and for volunteers. We have the walkway to and from the front door. So it's, and then the outside play runs are in 6 or 8 foot panels. So there's no way to just scoop it out. You got to blow it out of there. So he's having a good time with that.
I bet. And for those of you who are listening who don't live in a place with there is snow, there are rules in Cedar Rapids. And I don't know if this is true for every place that has snow, but there are rules. We have ordinances that say you have X amount of time to get the snow out of the driveways and off the sidewalks and out of the parking lots and all those kinds of things, because obviously things need to be accessible and people need to get in and out safely. So it's important to have those kinds of equipment in order to clear out those areas, because otherwise you get fined by the city. And we definitely don't want that, especially for a rescue.
Exactly. They give you 48 hours from the last snowfall. You got to get in there.
It is a very short amount of time. My roommate was out at least twice yesterday shoveling snow. I saw the charts this morning, said we got somewhere between 6 and 8 inches of snow, which is...
Yeah. If you didn't get out there and do it throughout the time to try to stay ahead of it, it's a lot.
It is a lot. It's not fun. It's hard work to do snow removal, too. I'm glad that all the dogs have coats, though. I think that's so cute that you have coats for the puppies.
It is so cute. I love seeing dogs in coats and pajamas and clothes. But yeah, they had a good time. Right now, we've got the 6 puppies and we've got 3 or 4 that are there. And then the foster dogs, they only come on Saturdays when we're open to the public. So that's another way we're a little different, is a lot of the foster-based rescues, you'll see them in places like Petco, PetSmart, Tyson's, like the local farm and local pet stores doing adoption events. And people ask us a lot, why don't you do adoption events? And we're like, we're open every Saturday. That is our adoption event. Come to open hours. We're open to the public every Saturday from 10 to 2. So that people can come and meet our adoptable dog. We don't need to have adoption events. We're open literally every Saturday for people to come and meet the dogs and visit with them and see who they might jive best with. That is our adoption event. But we also are different in that we don't adopt out on a first come, first applied basis. We have an application you need to fill out. If you do it ahead of time, we really love you. It's not that we don't love you if you don't, but we really do love you if you would just fill it out first. Because we always have questions. And then if you have it filled out ahead of time, when you get there, we can be able to make sure we ask you those questions so there's not a bunch of follow-up. From there, people do a visit summary with a volunteer, and we watch kind of just see how the dog interacts with the people in the house, because everyone in the household, all humans, have to come and meet the dog that you're interested in. We want to make sure, like if you say you have 2 kids, they're like, oh, they love dogs. Well, we want to see that. We want you to bring them, because what if our dog doesn't like your kid? You know what I mean? We care about how our dogs care. We don't want to hurt your feelings, but we're also not going to give you a dog that we don't think meshed very well with your family. Dogs are great judges of character. Sometimes you'd be surprised. This whole family comes and they're this great family, but our dog is like, I don't like you. I don't want to play with you. I don't want you to touch me. I don't want anything to do with you. And then the next family they meet, they love. So we're like, this is why we have you come meet the dog, because look what just happened. And from there, we have an adoption committee that will review everything, and they have the difficult job of finding the best fit for the dog. And so they'll set up meet and greets with other pets and make sure everyone in the household has met them and check references, vet references, background checks. So we're not the easiest to adopt from, but it's because we don't want to have our dogs returned.
I don't think that it's wrong to have a process, because like you said, you don't want the dogs to get returned. On social media, I've seen a bunch of rescue workers or just rescues that post videos about reasons people have returned a dog. And it's literally like they couldn't get the dog in the car in the parking lot, or it's been 20 minutes. They've been out there trying to get the dog in the car, and then they're like, I couldn't get the dog in the car, and so now I'm bringing it back. You don't want that kind of stuff. You want the dog to go somewhere where the person is going to give it that time and that space to go through the 3 stages of decompression, which is the 3 weeks, 3 months, 3.
Yeah. And that can be, sometimes it can be 6 months. You know, you just never know. And Another thing that we do that's a bit different is we always, unless we know it's like not needed, but we always offer our families a foster to adopt first. So basically they're yours, but they're still Dogs Forever's dog. And that way you can have the time with them to decompress, let them see, let their true colors shine, and make sure it's truly a good fit before we finalize any adoption. And I would say 98% of the time, that's what is needed. But the thing is every now and then you do that, and say we cat test a dog and the dog is no mind to these cats, but then after they're in a home for a month, they are feeling themselves and they get a little spicy, and we learn actually they're not a good fit with cats. We have a volunteer trainer who will come and work and try to help, or sometimes they will seek out trainers just to try to get advice on how to acclimate and how to do this. But at the end of the day, if a dog has a high prey drive and your cat is sassy and smacking it, it's just not a good fit. And that's the beauty of the foster to adopt process, and the beauty of having a shelter is that we have the ability then to take that dog back. And a lot of these foster-based rescues, some of them, they're just like, I'm sorry, we don't have anywhere else for the dog to go. Can you hang on to it for us until we can find somewhere? And then you're stressing your whole environment out, your pets, your kids, your life, because they can't take the dog back and they put you in a situation. And that's just something we don't ever do. If it doesn't work out at all, if anyone is ever uncomfortable, we are like, give us our dog back. We will take them back to the shelter. We always have an extra kennel next to Dougie, our sanctuary dog. It's empty. We use it for storage for a lot of stuff, but it's kind of an emergency situation. If we get into that spot and we have to take the dog back, we always will have a place for a dog to come back to. So we never, ever will put a family in a situation where they're uncomfortable.
Which is so smart, because I know that there are situations where you adopt 3 dogs out this weekend. So you guys take a transport and now you've filled those kennels and now you have new dogs, and somebody a week later, 2 weeks later, well, this didn't work out. And that's good to know that you do have a place for them to return. Because I think there's so much guilt. I've talked to a bunch of people on this show that they've been fostering a dog, and then this dog killed their cat, or it attacked them, or it attacked somebody else, and they try to take it back to the rescue, and the rescue's like, oh nope, you got to keep it, you got to deal with it, you agreed to foster, you're stuck with it. And that to me was just mind-blowing, because now we have a bad situation for everybody, right? It's not fair to the person who was trying to foster or adopt. It's not fair to the dog. It's not fair to the other pets or people in the situation. It's just so sad.
It's awful. We have a few volunteers at our shelter that have at some point fostered for other foster-based rescues and have been in the same situation. One dog had to live on a leash held onto by her the entire time, and she was begging for help, begging for them to take this dog back, begging for other volunteers that foster for the rescue. Can anybody help? And I literally read the messages where they were like, see, this lady had never kennel trained a dog before, and that wasn't part of the request either. They were like, oh, she'll be fine, but then she tried to eat her cat. And the response from the owner of the rescue was, just shove her in a kennel, just shove her in there. And my friend, the volunteer, was like, I don't think that's a good idea. She's freaking out. Well, our trainer's gone for, 2 weeks. I don't have anyone to help you. They just left her completely hopeless, and it put a bad taste in her mouth for fostering. She was like, I'm never doing this again. And they finally, after months, got this dog into a different home, but it took them forever. Meanwhile, they're onboarding other dogs from transports. And I'm just like, take care of the dogs you have in your rescue now. Get this dog somewhere else rather than trying to just bring in all these other dogs. It was so frustrating. And my heart felt so bad for the volunteer that was stuck with this dog who was trying to kill her cat. When it stressed her cat out forever, her cat won't come downstairs. And now this person is fostering a heartworm positive dog for us. And it has taken her cat this entire time to finally come downstairs and be in that dog's presence. And cats are aloof anyway. They kind of run and hide. But had that not been the experience that this poor cat had to go through, it probably would have come down sooner and probably wouldn't be that way. It's just stuff like that. Some of these places, if you can't take care of the dogs that you have now, don't be bringing more dogs in. Take care of who you have first. I don't know. Oh God, it just drove me insane.
No, that's wild.
It makes you sick to your stomach. You're like, what are you doing? Like, get your hearts in the right place, and you want to help as many dogs as possible, but take care of the dogs in your care first before anything else. Don't ever put people in situations like that. That's my TED
that's
talk.
wild to me. I don't understand that. If you know that you have a foster that's in distress and you tell that foster, we don't have anywhere for this dog to go, but then you're taking in new dogs from transport, that you had a spot.
Yeah.
You had a spot.
Yeah.
You completely just lied to that person and did not think about their needs or their feelings or the danger that you were putting another animal in. To me, that is completely irresponsible when it comes to being a rescue. That just blows my mind.
You hear stuff like that and you're just like, it makes me that much more grateful to be with Dogs Forever, knowing that the amount of time that we take to pick a home for a dog. And I'm not saying that we don't ever have someone that's like, this is not working out. Or maybe even 2 years later, someone's like, my situation has changed. I need your guys' help. We'll always, yeah, absolutely. Bring the dog back. We'll take them. Not a problem. It's just the amount that Dogs Forever goes above and beyond to be able to help their dogs, even from the past, is just amazing. There was just a news story about these two boys. They do this thing called Prints for Pets. And KCRG, our local news station, drove to Cedar Falls to interview them. And they adopted this dog from us, Rinley, who was found in Manchester by another local gal who's amazing with dogs. She does a lot for rescues. And this guy saw this other guy about to shoot the dog because it had been on his property. Perfectly healthy dog. The guy was like, screw it. So this other guy saw it and he's like, oh my God, what are you doing? And he opened his truck door. The dog jumped right in like, thank you. And between communication here and there, the dog ends up at Dogs Forever. And the dog is incredible. What a beautiful dog. What a good mannered dog. Just to think that dog's life was almost just going to get taken by some grumpy farmer or whoever, just because the dog was on your property, probably killing something because it was starving. Who knows? And we adopt this dog out to this family, this beautiful family. They love him dearly. Literally within months, we find out he's having all these issues. But Dogs Forever was able to help this family with some medical costs to be able to find out he was riddled with cancer and he had to be let go. So this poor family adopts this beautiful dog, saves his life, gets cancer, has to be put down. And so then a while later, they end up saying, we're ready. They adopt another dog from us. And the boys got 3D printers for Christmas. And they start making these little tchotchkes, like little toys and trinkets and little sensory thing. And there's this local store in Cedar Falls, like a mom and pop place, that was letting them sell their stuff. And they started calling it Prints for Pets because they wanted to give back to Dogs Forever. And so they donate 20 or 25% of their sales, these two young boys, back to Dogs Forever. And they just made their first almost $200 donation. So they made this video. They had like a piece of cardboard and they had sticky notes over the numbers and they were revealing the numbers. And Gus, the dog they adopt from us, in the background just being a good boy with a tree. And they're just so adorable. And I think that kind of stuff happens because of the small knit family we have with Dogs Forever. I don't really see that kind of stuff with other rescues that people are so impacted. But I think that because we are so small and because we truly care individually about every dog, and I'm not saying other rescues don't care about their dogs, but because we are so much smaller, we're able to have such a closer bond with the few amount of dogs that we have. We don't have 15, 20, 30 dogs that need taken care of where you're just like, get them in, get them out, get them out, get them fed, get them walked. It's very small. And these dogs get so much one-on-one time and you just fall so in love with them that you're able to connect with their families and hear great stories about that these kids do. It's so cool.
I love that. I think that's so cool. And kids are just so inspirational. Last year, I had this little girl on the podcast, and she's 12 years old now, but she was 9 when she started the business. She started going into the shelters because she wanted to have a dog, and her family was originally from India. So that was a cultural thing. You don't have dogs in India. They're not house pets there. And so they went to the shelter to kind of start learning more about dogs and their needs and all that kind of stuff. And they're volunteering all the time. And this little girl's like, well, what can I do to help? What can I do to make this situation better? So she starts making bow ties so that the rescue can start taking pictures of the dogs with the bow ties and hopefully help them, make them more adoptable. Well, then one day she has a lemonade stand and she decides to take her bow ties out to her lemonade stand and she sells out of the bow ties. And then she turns it into a business and now she's donated like $6,000 over the last 4 years.
Oh, that is awesome.
Rescues.
So good.
I know, it's so cool. Kids are so
Gives
good.
you a
And
lot
like,
of hope.
I know, it just makes me just, it's, I don't know, it just makes my heart swell to know that the next generation is
Yeah.
so considerate when it comes to animals, because unfortunately, right now, there are not so many people that are considerate when it comes to animals. And that's why we're in the situation that we're in with the
Yeah.
shelters. And that's why we have all these backyard breeders and too many puppies and the puppy mill situation. I remember when I first learned about the puppy mill situation and seeing it firsthand and all that. But what it's expanded into with backyard breeders is just a totally different story. I think that, people who are breeding for coat color, breeding for a certain kind of combination of dogs, and because it looks trendy and it's aesthetic and it's all these things or whatever. And then the next thing you know, people are finding litters and mothers of dogs and puppies literally just dumped somewhere in their farmland. And it just breaks my heart that that kind of stuff is happening because they wanted a specific coat color and money. And they don't think about the rest of the puppies that don't come out the way that they wanted them to. And it's just super sad. Super sad that people are not being accountable and responsible for those situations. It's just as bad as the situation where that poor dog had to be on a leash and kept at arm's length the whole time so it didn't kill her cat because the rescue wasn't being accountable in that situation. So obviously there's both sides of the story. You're going to have not great situations when it comes to breeding dogs, but we're also going to have not great situations when it comes to rescue. Let's go into an education piece a little bit here as far as rescues go. Why don't you talk a little bit about what the 5013C is and how you can find out if a rescue has one and why it's important that a rescue has a 5013C?
Yeah, Dogs Forever is a non-for-profit 501(c), and we are a little different that we have no paid staff either. So some rescues pay very minimum wage and have paid volunteers. Even that, if that's a paid volunteers, it's kind of a oxymoron. You're not really volunteering if you're getting paid, but they do. They pay them a very minimum, like $5-7 an hour to take care of things, and we don't. Even being a complete nonprofit, we don't get any government assistance. We run solely on donations from individuals and businesses in our community and our fundraising events and grants that we can seek out if we qualify for. Things like sometimes we can put out a grant for a heartworm treatment. And a lot of those grants require you to be a 501(c)(3) nonprofit. They won't do it for for-profit places. So a lot of grants, a lot of our Michio Foundation in Iowa City, I feel like I always butcher that. I'm pretty sure it's Michio. They have helped us substantially with many different shelter improvements to be more efficient. They helped us with our back play yard. We do a lot of grants with other places to help with efficiency, like getting heated covers for our garage doors and upgrading electrical and lighting. People think dogs only, but it takes a lot to run that. In order to be able to provide a safe and warm and cooling facility for these dogs, it takes a lot of grants, a lot of money. So that's always important too. The part that always kind of shocks people is that when we say we're 100% volunteer run, even our shelter manager, our board, all of our committees, everybody is doing that on their own time because they just care about dogs and their livelihood and keeping our shelter running.
Yeah, and I don't think that there are a lot of rescues out there like that. I mean, that's part of the reason keeping it small is probably good for you guys because it's hard enough to find people to volunteer as it is, I'm sure. But second of all, it's a lot of work, right? And there's lots of things that need to be done at rescues because not only do dogs have needs, right? They need to go out to the bathroom, they need to eat, they need to play, like all the things. But now you have cleaning and snow blowing and all of the other things that come along with it. So it's a lot of responsibility to ask for people's time like that.
When you think about like vet care too.
Oh, yeah.
All these dogs get vetted and they get microchipped and they have to be up to date on shots and spayed and neutered and they all get baths when they come in. You know what I mean? There's so much more that goes into it. There's laundry to do. There's toilets to scrub. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. There's the intakes that you have to keep track of, medical records, and we have a foster committee that keeps track of all the fosters. And, you know, by law, we have to annually visit foster homes each year, and there's audits and inspections and approvals to be even to be able to have foster homes. approvals to be able to even function as a shelter. There's audits and inspections, and our shelter manager takes all that on. So even though she's the manager and the president, it's also everything's in her name. So if something goes wrong, insurance is the worst to try to keep and find because of the risk of running a shelter. Oh, and people just don't understand how much more it is than just walking dogs. There's just so much more that goes into it.
Since we're on this topic, what do you have to do? How do you qualify to become a volunteer at Dogs Forever?
Yeah, so they have a volunteer questionnaire on our website that anyone can go fill out. You do have to be over 18 to work with the dogs for insurance purposes. You have to be 18. You can't be an adult and bring your 13-year-old child. You have to be physically 18 years old. And you do a volunteer questionnaire where you fill out kind of what you're looking for, whether you want to be a walker or a shelter guardian, or maybe just help with projects, or maybe just help with fundraising events. And if you're going to be a walker or a guardian, the two shifts that actually work with dogs, then we have an orientation, and she's also a volunteer with a full-time job. So she tries to have one orientation a month, if not two, and she'll email everyone, and there might be 10 people and 4 show up. So even though we get a ton of volunteer applications, the actual follow through when people are like, oh, they're actually emailing me and they want me to volunteer. Oh, I don't know. I don't feel like that anymore. So she always gets not a good ROR there. The amount of people that sign up are not the same amount of people that actually come to orientation. And then the ones that actually do their training shifts, which you're required to do 2 at least, but you can always do more if you're not comfortable with the amount of work, because it's a lot. You're with somebody and you're listening to them about what you do. We have a lot of checklists and things that help with knowing what to do. But if you're not paying attention and then all of a sudden your 2 training shifts are over and you sign up on your own and then you're like, wait, what was I supposed to do? Like, there are other people there because we always usually have 2 dog walkers and a guardian per shift. So there's always someone to ask, but they're also busy doing tasks. So you really have to be good with your time, good with listening and learning and paying attention and following rules and instructions, because a lot of people sign up because they think, oh, I just want to play with the dogs, I just want to walk them. But there are things and processes and procedures in place to keep you and our dogs safe, using certain types of martingale collars, clipping it on correctly, making sure certain dogs don't cross each other's paths because we have some dogs that aren't dog friendly. Paying attention to those notes that are left, like, hey, so-and-so didn't eat this morning, so at dinner tonight you need to make sure you add their meds in, or make sure they get their food with a little wet food. Meds too. I mean, a lot of our dogs are on some type of medication when they come into our care, whether they have worms or whether they have diarrhea and they're on something like a probiotic. Looking at what dog gets what, how much food they get, making sure do they have AM meds, do they have PM meds, do they have midday meds, and you have to make sure that they get those things. So it's so much more of a responsibility to be a volunteer at the shelter than it is just having fun walking dogs. So in that aspect, I think once people learn, oh, I actually have a lot of responsibility, I don't know if I want to do this, they end up not showing up anymore. So it takes a lot. And we do ask a lot of our volunteers because they're the only ones there keeping our dogs safe. It can be a lot of work, but I think that the love that you get from these dogs far outweighs the amount of work that you have to do.
And that's the other thing too. Like you said, there's a bunch of different things that you can volunteer for, right? If you can't work directly with the dog, you can help with the fundraising, or you can go volunteer at an event. There's all kinds of different things, and everybody has different limitations, right? Some people can't be in the kennels. It's hard for some people, right? Going into a dog rescue isn't always fun. So it's hard to see dogs behind cages for some people. It's kind of depressing.
I don't want to be the person to put them away. I'll take them out, but somebody else will put them away. Because I don't want to be the last person they see putting them away. I don't want to see that sad face.
It's so hard. Even when I was at tech and we would have dogs that we would keep for boarding, that was hard. I always hated it because I was always like, oh, I don't like that you guys are stuck in these kennels all day. I'm so sorry. I would let them out for extra long times and stuff and just play with all of them when I could. But there's a lot to think about.
There is.
Volunteering for a rescue, or you're thinking about volunteering for a rescue, understand that it is work. You are volunteering to do work. It's not
You
just,
are literally responsible for them. I mean, especially if they have meds or if they have reactivity. If you don't pay attention, you and or the dog could get hurt. And
yeah.
that's on you. That's going to be your fault because you didn't pay attention. You're not listening. It takes a lot. And the nice thing, though, is we also have a position called a shelter guardian where you don't actually physically walk the dogs, but you're there in the building while two other dogs are out getting walked, which means you can just help get the dogs in and out to the play yards. You get their food and water and meds ready. You might clean their bedding, do laundry, kind of like general tidying. But you also can just go sit and chill in a kennel with a dog and give it some extra one-on-one time. So the shelter guardian is a great position for people who might not be comfortable walking extra strong dogs or reactive dogs, or that might physically not be able to handle a dog on a walk. So the shelter guardian is always needed, and we love our shelter guardians for that reason. They're there to help pick up extra duties that will take a load off of the dog walkers so they can just focus on getting them out for nice long walks and do a lot of enrichment activities with them in the meantime. So we have that position too, which is really wonderful.
I think that would be a fun one. Again, you're going in and you're working with animals. I think this is the same misconception that a lot of people have about being a vet tech. You think that you're just going to go in and you're going to get to play with puppies and kittens all day, and that's not actually what it is. You're doing lots of other stuff, surgeries, blood draws, vaccinations. You're looking at poop under a microscope. Sometimes you're collecting that poop. There's things that you're doing that I don't think a lot of people expect when they go into those situations. And I think that it's important to talk about it because yes, you have to go through some training, and yes, you are responsible for these dogs when you're working with them. And whether that's just to take them on a walk or that's cleaning kennels out and doing laundry, it's still a responsibility. And paying attention to medication, food, and all that stuff is so important because you could be contributing to a health problem or a health condition or problem for the next person that comes in because you didn't give the right medication or food. So it's all very much, like you said, a system, a checklist, and you do have to pay attention to those things. So I like that you have that set up in a way where people can refer to things and ask questions, and that there's somebody there that probably knows if they're not sure which order it goes in or how to do something. So I like that you have backup systems on your arrangement for your volunteers. I think
it's true. And the number one question people always ask is, do I have to pick up poop? Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you
and
do.
You gotta scrub. You gotta scrub afterwards too, because it's astroturf. It's not real grass. So after you pick up the poop, you go with the scrub brush and vinegar and you clean it up. It is what it is. But you'd be surprised the amount of people that are like, I don't think I can do this. I can't pick up poop. Yeah, or I hope you don't ever have kids. You know.
Well, also, are you just gonna get a dog and then never pick up its poop?
I know. It's so
I have
funny.
a big backyard and I have to pick up my dog's poop, and I also usually have to pick up a lot of other animals' poop too because I don't want Toby to eat it because he's a gross dog and he will eat poop or roll in it. If you can't pick up poop, what did you think that dog ownership was?
I know. And I think maybe I get complacent in that I am used to it because I've had dogs my whole life. But some of our volunteers, they volunteer there because they live in a place they can't have a dog. They've never had a dog. They never got to have a dog growing up, or a lot of them live in places where they can't have dogs and they want to interact with dogs. So I try to remember these people have never had a dog before. They don't even know what's going on. And so, you do have to pick up poop. It's not just going to disappear. You do have to pick up poop, and that they are going to pee sometimes in their kennel. Maybe they have a UTI, or maybe they're nervous and drinking too much water. And even if it's an adult dog, their life just got uprooted, especially owner surrenders that just went from living in a home to living in a shelter. And even though it's a small shelter and it's relatively quiet, very homey in our shelter, it's still a shelter. We have heated floors, so the floors are warm, but they went from probably a cozy bed to a dog bed on a cot. And so out of behavioral, they might start peeing because they don't know what's going on in their life. Eventually, they learn the routine of the shelter and they catch on pretty quickly, but pee happens, poop happens, they throw up happens. I think sometimes it's shocking for people that have never interacted with dogs that they just learn. But it's also a good thing because it's kind of neat to see somebody who's never interacted with a dog because they didn't get to grow up with one or they live somewhere where they can't. And then to watch them learn how great of a creature a dog really is and how much love comes from them, you just see them like, I can't believe I never got to experience this my whole life. Yeah, it's like, yeah, the love of a dog, your life is going to change this point forward.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really great and people stick around, and we've had volunteers that have been there for years, some since the beginning that are still there. And sometimes we have a turnover. People are just kind of trying to get a little taste of it. And then, I don't really want to do this. We only require our volunteers to do 2 shifts a month. So to be an active volunteer, you only have to do 2 shifts. Some people, they come, they do their 2 shifts, and they're done. And some people are doing way more, and some people join committees, and some people help out with events and fundraising. Just once you get your foot in the door, you're either going to be super passionate about it and love it and want to do more, or you're just going to like it and do your 2 shifts and have fun while you're doing it. Or you don't like it at all and you never come back. One of those extremes.
But you'll never find out unless you try.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Maybe you think your poop's going to gross you out, but when it comes from like an adorable puppy, you're like, oh, you just pooped. Good job pooping. So you're like, clean it up. No big deal.
I'll take dog poop over basically anything that comes out of a human body. Just saying.
I know. I know.
Just saying. Let's talk a little bit about the kind of stuff you guys do for fundraising and where people can donate and all that kind of stuff before we wrap up today.
Yeah, we have a lot of different regular shelter programs where we have different things people could donate towards if they wanted. Sometimes people like their money to go towards a certain thing, like I want my money to go towards this, or I want my donation to go towards food or anything like that. So we have a general fund where you can just have your donation say, use it for whatever you need. We have something called Mend a Friend where your money could go towards veterinary care, testing, lab things, stuff like that. If you just want your donation to go towards the facility to help with maintenance and buying a snowblower, things like that. You could do memorial gifts, honorarium gifts. People do planned funding. So if you are doing estate planning and you want a portion of your estate to come to us, or a will, or if you have like IRA annual distributions that have to be taken out, people give it to a dog shelter. One of my favorite things that we have is called Seniors for Seniors. It's a really wonderful program that we have. So senior dogs that are 7 years old or older, and senior individuals who are 65 or older, if they end up being compatible and a 65 plus year old human individual living in their own home or a place that allows pets wants to adopt a senior dog, we waive the adoption fee of $150. And we usually have individuals that will sponsor that $150. But that $150 helps us with the veterinary care that we've provided to the dog, but we don't pass it along to the senior. If for some reason that senior adopter was unable to drive to the vet, maybe a lack of a driver's license or another reason, we will help get that dog to and from their vet appointment. For some reason, they were in a financial strain and they couldn't afford food, we would provide food once a month or every other month to try to help out. Same with veterinary care. If something major came up, like they had to have a dental extraction and it was $5,000 and they couldn't do it, they can reach out to us and apply for assistance through us to let us help them. And in the event of that senior person's hospitalization, change of living status, going into a nursing home, or death, we would take that senior dog back as well. So our Seniors for Seniors program is really great because they recognize the benefits of senior folks having a dog and how wonderful that companionship can be. So it's a really great program. We actually just did it. We just had a senior dog, Ellie Mae, who had been in her foster home for almost a year. We had some interest on her, but none of them were a good fit for her because she needs a home with no pets, and people kept applying that had dogs and cats, and they're like, oh, we'll make it work. And we're like, no, we're not doing that to her. Anyway, her foster, because when you're on a fixed income because you're retired, it's scary to think about adopting a dog and all that financial strain that can come with it. But because she's a senior and the dog was a senior, we were able to help her out. We waived the adoption fee for her. We raised money on Facebook. Someone immediately donated. Oh, they've been watching Ellie Mae's story, and they're like, we'll cover her adoption fee. And we even had somebody cover $150 towards some preventatives for some heartworm and flea and tick preventative too for her for the future. So she'll be set for a little while there. And obviously we would help this individual at any time if they needed it, because, we want our dog to stay with this person for the rest of their life.
That's so cool. That's
Yeah,
so
so
cool.
there's lots of different options. And then fundraising events. We have our own fundraising events, our annual kind of things we have. The spring clean garage sale coming up. We always have our annual spring clean garage sale. It's dog themed. So if anybody has dog things at their house, like stairs or pet food containers or clothing or ramps or leashes, collars, harnesses, all that kind of stuff. If they want to donate it to us that we could sell and help us raise money, we'll accept those. We have a fall one too. So we have a spring and fall. We have a Barks and Bubbles car wash fundraiser. We have a pup cup drive through, a chili cook off. Our biggest one is our Holla Dog Bazaar. It's held the first Saturday of every December. And we have about 30 plus raffle baskets that are filled, hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of stuff, each of them, that people can take their chance on winning. Plus we have handmade goodies and gifts and grab and go gifts. So it's a really fun event, and we've already started seeking donations from individuals and businesses in the community now, because it takes that long to get things together. But we also set up booths at different places like the Eastern Iowa Pet Expo, just anywhere we think that our stuff would be a good fit for. We reach out, and sometimes we'll set up a booth and be a little vendor at places.
I think that's awesome. And it's so community driven, right? That's, I think, the coolest thing about it is how involved you are in the community and bringing people together for events. It was actually last year for the spring garage sale. That was the first time that I had been to Dogs Forever and interacted with the rescue and got to play with the puppies and check out all the things that you had for sale. It was so much fun. It's crazy that it's almost been a year since that happened.
Yeah. Well, we can't really have a lot of events at the shelter just because of space, but the garage sale is great because not only does it bring people to the garage sale, but then people are like, you have dogs here? We thought you were a playground or a daycare, because we have actual kids' plastic slide and tunnels out front for the dogs to play on. So we have our big banner that says Dogs Forever to try to make it very clear that we are a dog shelter. But people sometimes see the kids' playground equipment. They're like, oh, I thought this was a daycare. You didn't think it was weird? You only saw dogs out here?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Well, like me, I didn't even realize you guys were back there. And then I got back there and I was like, oh, okay, I got this. I see. Yeah. This is very cool. Oh my gosh.
Still, I feel like over time people are getting to know us more, but it's still, I'll go out there and people are like, Dogs Forever, where's that? I'm like, oh, it's right here. And they're, oh my God, I drive by there. I'm like, yeah, that's us. We're here, but we're so small. We don't have a sister company some of the other rescues do, where they can help with funding commercials and sponsoring things and sponsoring Facebook posts and ads to get their name out there more. We just have what we have. So we're a big component of word of mouth, trying to get exposure out there and trying to just get out there to people on social media and out in the community with our fundraising events. A lot of the fundraising events are human-based. So we try to get people to come to us to learn about us and have fun with us.
Well, I'm excited. And hopefully when this episode airs, we'll be able to cross-promote it on all the things and maybe get some more people interested in Dogs Forever and visiting and volunteering and all of the things, right?
Definitely.
It was really, really awesome to have you here today. I'd like to ask everybody that comes on the show one final question before they leave. And that is, what would you like to leave the listeners with?
I would say just when you wake up every day, realize that that is such a gift that you were just given to wake up and be able to enjoy the day. And if you have a pet, I think it's even more important that you realize how special it is that you get to enjoy the day with them, and to always be kind to animals, obviously, and to always just appreciate where you're at in your life with your pets, and knowing that their time is very short, and to make the most of what you have with them. And to remember that they are living in the now and they're not thinking about the future. So to not have any anxieties about the future and just be present with your pet.
I think that's a really excellent message. And it is so, so, so important to take those moments that you have with your dogs and cherish them, because you don't know if there will be one tomorrow, because unfortunately that is how life works.
Out of our control.
That is how life works. It is. It's out of our control. So live in the moment, guys. Be kind, love your pets, and enjoy every moment of the day. And we will see you guys next week on Straight Up Dog Talk. Straight Up Dog Talk was created by Emily Breslin. It is edited and produced under the supervision of Straight Up Dog Talk, LLC, and Emily Breslin. If you're enjoying this podcast, follow or subscribe, and be sure you don't miss an episode. And leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Looking for more honest and relatable dog content? Check out our sister show, Unpacked, with Jerry Sheriff and Madison Simpson. Thanks for listening to Straight Up Dog Talk. See you next week.